what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Lineage Break, a Grand Archive TCG podcast. I'm your host, Cam. With me, as always, is Steven.
Hi, Cam.
Hi, Steven. Joining us today, our special guest is Bees in the studio.
Yep.
Apologize for the buzzing that I've isolated the issue, so it'll be gone for next week. But
all I can
this
say
week,
is
honey
be lovely.
I don't know what that means.
Yep.
Is that
some people do?
Are you in? Is that like a furry thing, or
no.
is that like putting pineapples on your door?
Yeah.
At the, you know.
See.
What does that mean? Actually,
like Joy Boy knows.
I don't know what the pineapple thing
Adi
means.
knows. You don't know what the pineapple thing is?
No. Is that
it's
like
for swingers.
It's like an orgy thing, right?
Yeah. You put an upside down pineapple to indicate that you are down to clown, and
why don't you put a clown mask instead?
Understood. That's a different thing.
Are you going to see ICP next month?
I am not.
All right, just checking. Hey, this is a Great Archive TCG podcast. Welcome back. We're a couple of weeks out from that there Abyssal Haven. I'm having a really hard time
Looking at cleric cards, yeah, I bet.
No, that's true. HVN is in my brain very hard for me to remember what the set is called. I don't know why, so it always takes me a second to get to Abyssal Haven, but we are a couple of weeks out from Abyssal Haven. We have, at this point now, all of our ultra rare spoilers.
Yeah.
We have all of our SR spoilers except for
3.
the spirits that we will see in Melbourne. So we have a pretty holistic look at the set, which is cool. Talk a little bit about that today, how things are shaping up. We also have nationals to talk about. The nationals dates are finally up. All that good stuff. The prize pools have been announced, all that. Interesting stuff to talk about. Some prize cards that we can take a look at. And then we have Melbourne next week.
Melbourne.
As of recording today, Stephen.
Is it next week?
It is next week.
Wow, yeah.
We are... God, is the buzzing getting worse? We are. I'm going to stop touching my mic, maybe. 2 weeks out from Abyssal Haven launch as of today. So
yeah.
In just 2 weeks, we will be gripping all those new cards, hopefully opening good cards and not bad cards.
Yeah.
That's the hope. I don't know, Steve. What do you want to do first? I guess we can do nationals first.
Yeah, let's do nationals first.
Do spoilers
and then we
at the
can
end.
talk about spoilers with them at the end.
It's been a hot minute since we have talked about nationals, but they are coming up, impending, some sooner rather than others, and I know that a lot of people were waiting on the dates for U.S. nationals, and we finally have those as well. So,
all right.
First of all, I guess in order of
the article, which you can find at grandarchivetcg.com.
True.
Or gatcg.com.
So, first we have SEA Nationals, which is April 5th through 6th. That one's like right around the corner.
Yeah.
It's like 5-6 weeks now.
Yep.
European Nationals in Dusseldorf, April 26th through 27th. Oceania Nationals, May 10th through 11th, my birthday. Oh, by the way, everybody say happy birthday to Steven. His birthday's on Monday. Happy birthday.
Woo,
He's
it's my
old.
birthday.
That guy, old.
Yeah. Practically dead.
Practically
they
dead.
say.
And then last but certainly not least, and probably the biggest, is North American Nationals, May 24th through 25th in, just like they told us, St. Louis, Illinois. That's what it says right here. St. Louis, Illinois.
That says Collinsville, Illinois.
I don't know what the fuck that means, but it is apparently very close to St. Louis. We like just giving them a hard time. This is why, anybody that is mad at Weebs of the Shore or TM32 or Shinja specifically, which is where you should direct your anchor, about why they choose, destination cities, Chicago, Toronto, stuff like that.
Right.
It's because if they don't, we'll make fun of them, like this one. So,
Right.
Collinsville, where the fuck is that? Never been there. But some of us will be there, so that's exciting.
All right. So just a reminder for everyone, to qualify for these nationals, you need some points.
Yes,
Number
sir.
of points differ depending on the location. So North America, you need 12 points. Southeast Asia, you need 10 points. Oceania, you also need 10 points. And for Europe, it's 8.
It's a little bit easier for those across the globe, but the hard part is I don't know. It's I don't know how I feel entirely. I guess we'll see how this one goes. The way that qualifier points work are quite confusing, and so just in case all of you people out there in YouTube viewer land, I do have to explain this to our locals a lot, and so I guess I will explain it to you guys as well. Is that you need a certain amount of national qualifier points, as we said, and each level of invite cards are worth a certain amount of national qualifier points. Store championship cards are worth 2 national qualifier points. That's a mouthful. Regionals invite cards are worth 3 NQP, and then Ascent Top 32, or I guess now Ascent Day 2 cards are worth 4 NQP. But the hard part for people to grasp is that you do get an amount of points through Omnidex. And so for this year's Nationals, for ALC season, AMB season, and MRC season, not in that order, but we got there.
Yep.
If you were Gold Plus, you get 1 NQP, and then in HVN season, before Nationals, as long as it is the day before you travel to Nationals in your whichever region you're from, depending on what your Omnidex rank is, you get a certain amount of NQP. Bronze is 2, silver is 3, gold is 4, platinum plus is 5. And so I think that part is a little bit confusing for people where, like, if you're a North American player and you need 12 national qualifier points, that is quite a lot, but if you've at least been gold for the entirety of Grand Archive, which a lot of people have been with us for a long time, that accounts for 7 of your 12 national qualifier points. So I have 1.
I also have 1.
No invites for your Lineage break, boys. We each have our 1 gold point from last season.
Yeah. No. Mine's from ALC.
Oh, okay. You were gold ALC, but
because
not last
I didn't
season.
play in MRC really, and then because I didn't play in MRC, it was impossible to hit it in AMB.
Yep. Shinja has 0. Yeah, that's. Poro has 0. Yeah, it's you guys can tell that maybe there's a correlation to people that do content creation or work for the company. It's hard for us to get NQPs sometimes because we do this for you. So recognize our sacrifice. But anyways, I'll be at Nationals, going to see if I can borrow some cards to come hang out and scrub out, go O2 and whatever. They haven't announced yet if there's going to be a regionals on day 2. Shinja confirmed that in chat live, because that's the thing that they did last year is everybody that scrubbed out of Nationals day 1, there was the first sort of regionals for the new season.
Yeah.
I
did
Nationals,
so bad at that regional.
Yeah, did you play a meme deck? I know a bunch of the boys played a meme deck in day 2 after.
No.
Trent played Sylvie, I think.
Yeah,
before Slimes.
So yeah, I had a really good run. I almost day 2 Nationals.
Yeah.
So then I was like, I can't play another 7 rounds of Water Tony because that deck was. It was great. I love that deck, but God, it takes a lot of brain power sometimes to know when to block and when to take your damage.
Of course.
But so I was like, yeah, I'll just run it through with Luxem. That was a mistake.
Oh yeah, that is the harder.
Yeah. I just I was 0-2 and round 3 and Trevor, Trent, and I were like, okay, if we all scrub out, we'll just drop and go to the amusement park.
That is true.
And I punished this poor Luxem player. For an hour.
Yeah, you beat that guy to death and then conceded, right?
No, I didn't. I
just took the W and dropped?
No. I brought us to 55 minutes of the round in game 1 because he didn't know how to end the game.
Sure.
And I was down on resources, so I couldn't end the game.
Mm-hmm.
So I just punished him. I was like, you can't kill me and I won't kill you. And then I conceded because I didn't realize Trevor and Trent were staying behind me.
You got to earn your win. You got to suffer through that 55 minutes. All right, so back on the topic of Nationals. We also got to see all the prize cards, which is pretty cool.
Ooh.
Maybe we'll pull those up. I saw Trevor spring into action as soon as we said
prize cards.
Prize cards. Your list of prize cards for anyone who's uninitiated. Of course, you can follow along with us. But it is Lurking Assailant, Windmill Engineer, Blazing Throw, Orb of Hubris, Light Weaver's Assault, Backup Charger, exercise curses, and Academy Guide. And so we've seen all of those CPRs now. In chat, you let me know. Like, this is a Dora the Explorer program. Who is your favorite? Which card do you like the best? Because there is a correct answer.
There's 2 correct answers. One more so than the other.
To be fair, I do really like the Lurking Assailant. I think she looks pretty good.
Yeah. Speaking of Lurking Assailant, I'm buying those turn-in cards. Let me know. I don't want the CPR.
He wants the CPRs. That's what
I don't want the CPRs. I want the other one. No one even plays Lurking Assailant anymore.
Yeah, it's. I'm thankful that aside from Backup Charger, none of these are cards that I particularly play. I'm actually not like super big on the Backup Charger art. I was complaining about that yesterday. Maybe just Crimson Tears outfit is not my vibe, you know.
Yeah.
But man, that Orb of Hubris, dude.
Mm-hmm.
Woo!
Yeah, I see.
Ooh,
There's
boy.
one cultured man in the audience.
That's the. I've been telling people about that for months, I think, and I don't know if I was supposed to be telling people about that for months, but that is a thing that Poro in the chat, is gonna get in trouble with his boss, told me in Santa Clara, I think, about the Orb of Hubris feat. So I've been spreading that for a while, and now we've seen it. It goes crazy. But yeah, I really do like the Lurking. I think the Lurking is the best art. I'm a fan of the edgy stuff. So that's why I like Orb and Lurking. Is they're both very like dark tonally.
I really hope that we get like a set where this Lurking Assailant fits in pretty well in the art.
Yeah, man. Like reader flavor text is so sick. You know, very very edgy. And so we're here for the edgelord stuff. Hopefully we get an edgelord set.
Yeah.
In DTR. So.
Yeah. Give me spooky. Give me ghosts. Give me vampires. Yeah.
So those are all of your invite cards. Hopefully you guys are going to nationals. Good luck to all of you. All of the prize pools are here as well. Not going to spend a whole lot of time going through those. They're all actually like pretty similar, which I found interesting. That like NA is very obviously going to be the biggest one. I think that's not absurd. I think Oceania will probably eventually eclipse us, but seeing as they only started having regionals and stuff, I think in MRC, I think they missed ALC season for the most part in Oceania. It's going to take a while for them to catch up. So at least for this year, NA is going to be the biggest one, but the prize pool disparity is like way closer than I would have thought. Like the first through fourth prizes are like basically the same across the board, which is pretty impressive, especially when like you assume that EU Nats is going to be pretty small. But what I was alluding to earlier is I'm curious to see how national season goes, because the way that NQP works is when you turn in an invite card, they are one use only. So you turn in your Lurking Assailant at North American Nats. Is the only place that you can use it. But all of your Omni decks, NQP can be used in every nationals. So even if you are like a North American player and all of your invite cards are NA and they'll say what region they're for on the card, you can take your 7-8 points to any of the other nationals, and for some like EU I believe is only 8 points. So like if you were gold plus every season and you're plat in HVN season, you can just go to European nationals for free basically.
Right. You don't even need an invite card.
So I'm really curious if and I hope not, but I'm curious if we're going to see a bunch of like big name NA players that I know are traveling all over the place win national slots from other regions, which obviously well within their right, but I would love to see obviously representatives from their own region be the ones that get to go to Worlds.
I'm kind of on the line that like I think that nationals should be a national thing.
Right.
I don't think NA players should be able to go and play in the European one.
Yeah, it's tough. I assume it's like a consolation to size, right? Like they want the tournament to be bigger, they want it to be more prestigious, and so obviously it's going to be a harder tournament because the NA players like Terry can travel to all of the nationals.
Right.
So that does mean that there'll be much more competitive events and just larger in general. Not to say that any region is better than any other region,
right?
But just more players means a more competitive field.
Yeah, I understand. It just feels bad when your SEA player, national winner of last year, Limelight, Jason May,
Yeah, known SCA player,
Yeah.
Limelight.
Yeah, it just feels bad sometimes.
Um,
For the people that are in that region, I could see.
So yeah, we'll see how it shakes out. But hey, you out there, if you're watching, make sure that you win for your region. EU players, don't let these heinous North American players in. SEA, don't let fucking Limelight win your tournament again. Aaron, come on, you're better than that. Don't let this Jason May come in and steal your trophy,
steal the show, as they say.
Yeah. So, we'll see how it goes for sure. But those are coming up, so we have those in a couple of weeks down with Limelight. Yeah. I got the live update from one Shinja that we have a new spoiler, which we cannot pull up on the screen for you. Sorry about that.
You lost.
I lost. It's a mage card.
It is a water mage card.
Shinja lied to me. He said it was a new cleric card. He's a liar. That's fine. I like mage cards.
All right. Well, we'll get this. This card is called Dynasty Chancellor. It's a water element, 2 reserve cost, ally mage human, with intercept on enter. If your shifting currents face north, put the top 2 cards of your deck into your graveyard. Deluge 3. On death, if you have 3 or more water element cards in your graveyard, draw a card. It's a 0/1.
Seems fine.
It's fine. It is alluding towards a direction of water Kongmin being the stratagem deck.
True. That's true. That's fine in theory. Right.
Yeah. She's kind of like a better.
She's like a really shitty library witch.
A better library witch.
Depends how you look at it.
She's hot.
She's a hotter library witch.
That's what I'm saying.
True. But she's a rare, for those asking. Seems fine. The part about spoiler season now is that I guess Erupting Rhapsody was a rare, right? But we've seen all of the SRs, we've seen all the URs, and so a lot of the flashy stuff has already been done with. So we're gonna see some filling out of some archetypes for sure. I think that's obviously why we're seeing Kongming's support here, is that she's been sort of thrown by the wayside, I think, and so they're giving her a little bit of support in HVN is good. It seems like we're really leaning into these color archetype keywords, being Deluge and Kindle and what's the wind one? Is there
Suppress?
Is there not a wind one?
I don't think there's a
Deluge and Kindle for sure.
Yeah.
Seeing a lot of support in HVN. Speaking of spoilers for Grand Archive, this week we did our social media campaign, which seems to be a new trend of things that we're going to do for spoiler season. We had one last season for Mortal Ambition, and it was a little bit easier, I think. I think we needed 800 likes, and it took us 8 hours or something.
Yeah.
Took us a day, but they upped the stakes on this one, and in order to see our last UR and our last non-spirit SR, we needed to get a lot of likes on that there Twitter, and it took a couple of days.
Yeah.
But we finally got there last night, just in time for the show. So thank you all for clicking that button on X.com or whatever. I know that website sucks, so thank you for being there and clicking on it. While you're on X, you can follow us as well. But I did want to talk a little bit about at least the Dolphin and the UR that we got.
I would also like
from
to
the
talk
campaign.
about the uncommon, because I think the card is pretty good, actually.
Is that the wind one?
Yeah.
All right, we can start there. Take a look at Whirlwind Threads. No, that's the common, but is that the one we're talking about?
No. Razorblade Execution is the common. Whirlwind Threads is the uncommon that I want to talk about.
Whirlwind Threads is a common, but it's okay. We can talk
really?
about Whirlwind Threads, which is a very, very good card.
It says uncommon right here.
Whirlwind Threads is a 1-cost wind action tamer spell. Fast. Put a quest counter on your champion. If an object was suppressed this turn, put Whirlwind Threads into your memory.
Yeah, that's pretty
That
good.
card's really good. I've seen a lot of people talking about this. This might actually be, no meme, the most exciting card that we got from the campaign.
Yeah, I'm very excited for Byaku now. I've been saying for a while that I want to play Big Tiger, and I think Big Tiger is probably really good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think when we were looking at it earlier, and we're going to spend some time on the show today talking about, I guess, sort of the set as a whole, and how the champions have lined up, and how archetypes are looking. Obviously, again, we're missing some commons, but we have I think a pretty good idea of what things are going to look like. But this is a perfect example of a card that says common on the card. Maybe it was the uncommon spoiler.
It is. Yeah.
They're dummies. It says common on the card. I'm looking at the card. But this is a great example of sort of like archetype defining cards that we're still going to see probably in the set. We're missing, I think, like 80 cards or something that are obviously lower rarity, but I think Byaku, when we were looking at it, is a like pretty slow quest to fulfill, right? But pretty consistent. It does have that suppress written right on the Fate Stone, and you can leverage cards like Baby Green Slime to reset your Fate Stone, right? So you suppress something with your Fate Stone, you play Baby Green, you flicker your Fate Stone, it gets that once ability back.
Right.
But that's pretty slow. And I think Whirlwind Threads is going to be a way to really accelerate that. A card that obviously doesn't have a lot of text once you've flipped your Byaku, but doesn't ever lose you card advantage. You just keep playing it over and over and over and over again. And so this probably leads to Byaku being like turn 3 maybe, or 3 turns with it on board. I mean, once you level the Gojo, so that's a way faster than we had thought it was going to be, and I think that does lend a lot of consistency to that deck that was probably going to be a lower to the ground win deck to begin with. Like, you're probably not playing a whole lot of Luxem support in that sort of suppressed deck. So this, I think, does give it a lot of power to be able to do that a little bit faster, which is pretty good. Steven, I see you pull up this Fire Girl. You want to talk about her? She's our actual uncommon.
Yeah, now we have an actual uncommon, which was marked as a rare. It is Ashwick Cremator. It's a fire, reserve cost 2, ally cleric human. Class bonus, at the beginning of your end phase, if you have no cards in your hand, deal 2 damage to each champion on a 2/1 body.
She's hot.
She is hot.
Literally. Like,
Smoke
she's on
weaves
fire.
a suffocating shroud, far more deadly than the flames behind it.
Smoke weed?
Smoke weed on the card? Smoke weaves.
She eat the weed.
She eat the weave.
She eat the weave. Please don't eat anybody's weave. That's an awful mental image. She just comes up, she eats your weave. All right, great. This card seems fine. It's a little bit unclear to me. I'm not a burn player. I'm not a fire aggro player, and I think that the fire Dao Chen deck looks really good.
Oh wait, no, we're just dumb.
I think you're dumb. I've seen this is the uncommon. Whirlwind was the common. It's okay. You don't have to blame the poor Jaden on the social media account.
No, it was just me.
We fucked it up.
Yeah.
But that's okay. It's unclear to me how good this Fire Dao Chan deck is. It looks good. It's got a lot of like really powerful cards in it, but I think it's the sort of it's the situation where it's hard to judge these cards in a vacuum.
Right.
I feel like this was very true of cards like Rococo, who is obviously a good card, but does have a real cost to her. And so a card like this, which seems very strong, that once you are Hellbent, you have no cards in hand, this is not only a body, but deals some damage. And if you stack your triggers correctly and you have the Fire Fantasia in play, I forget what it's called. We'll get all the names up here in the gray eventually. That draws a card, you can trigger this first and then draw that card into your memory, right? Mm-hmm. I just don't know how easy that's going to be. But I think if that turns out to be a viable strategy, this card is going to be pretty good. So we will see. Next up is our rare spoiler. We have Drowned Exorcist. This is a girl from Extricating Touch. She's so hot.
I agree.
4 cost, water, cleric, human, 2/2. Level 2+. On enter, each player banishes all non-water elements from their graveyard. Deluge 8. On death, if you have 8 or more water element cards in your graveyard, draw 2 cards.
It's pretty good.
I like this card a lot.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
I don't know how good this card is, but I like this card a lot. I think that Deluge 8 ability may be Copium. When I saw this card, I was extremely excited to put it into Water Rye, which has historically been a pretty bad deck. Shout out to my Rye players out there. That the problem with Rye, and I think we talked about this when we were talking about Harbinger of Lightning, is that he's not really allowed to play a card advantage game because he has to hard level, because there's very few ways for him to get arcane cards into his banish zone. However, she like basically literally just does that for you.
Yeah.
She doesn't remove any of your float, because assuming all of your float is water, and she does get rid of all of your arcane cards and put them into your banish to get levels. And then yeah, like sure, your Deluge 8, if she dies and draws 2 cards, is Pog. You're probably playing Primordial Rituals in your deck, right? But that's not exactly the point. I think this card's pretty good. Obviously I don't think that deck is pretty good. I think that deck's probably a little bit copium. But this card does allow you to play that sort of strategy, which I think is cool. I like when cards enable new strategies and do cool things, even though they probably won't see competitive play. I'd be like kind of shocked if Drowned Exorcist was making the competitive rounds, but she will be making the rounds my cursed Rye decks, so that's cool.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Steven, you like penguins?
Penguins are all right.
Sorry, I mean dolphins. That's what I meant.
Yeah.
The dolphins and penguins, they go hand in hand.
Yeah, they go hand in hand. This one less than the first one. So we have Pelagic Fatestone. It's a water 4 reserve cost. Item Tamer Fatestone. On enter, draw a card to memory. Goja bonus. When this card is banished from your graveyard to pay for a memory cost, put it onto the field transformed. This card has floating memory as well.
Can you give me your best dolphin noise, Steve?
Nope.
You gave it to me last night in
did,
Discord,
yep.
and you guys really missed it. It was a banger.
So when this card is summoned from your graveyard from removing it for float, it becomes Slick Torrent Rider. Is a water 4 reserve cost ally tamer beast fate-bound dolphin. At the beginning of your recollection, put the top card of your deck into your graveyard. It's a 0/3. Dolphins are regarded as the protectors of the sea, known to guide lost soldiers through the most treacherous of waters.
So we gotta have a word with Bell, our story lead, about the flavor text on this one. Aren't dolphins like traditionally assholes? Aren't they just like actual awful pieces of shit?
Not always. They have been known to save people in the water.
Oh, okay, all right.
But there are other allegations that they can't dodge.
There's some dolphin allegations going around. That they're not the nicest sea creatures.
Correct.
You know? So they're real smart though. Apparently,
Yeah.
this guy looks pretty smart.
They're like the next smartest things to humans.
Smarter than me, surely.
Probably.
I don't know. This card's like fine. It's it very much feels similar to the last one, where it's cool. It's got some cool stuff going on. It allows you to do some really interesting things. I don't know that means that it's going to be super powerful. I think it's an easier include into like the Genbu deck. It is just a card with floating memory that does give you the value, quote unquote. However, I think that the like value that it gives you is a little bit worse than a lot of people are giving it credit for. I mean, you said yesterday it's basically a fractal variant that your opponent can kill, and if they kill it, they're sad because it gives you a floating memory. So he probably just like sits on the board forever, and he's a fractal variant that you got for free, which is not bad. I mean, it's like surely good. But a lot of people are talking about the combination with Primordial Ritual and stuff is like cute, and you can send him to your graveyard, and then he becomes a floating memory again, and then you use that floating memory, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I don't know that any of that is really worth it, but I think you'll surely play him in your Genbu deck. It's really good when you mill it. It's really bad when you draw it. That's about it.
Yeah.
But he's cool. It's an interesting card. I like. I would much rather cards like this than ones that are like Razor Gale Calling,
Right.
right? Like, I guess that's a bad example too. But cards that are just like overtly powerful are less fun than cards like this that are a little bit more niche and have some
Yeah.
interesting strategies that
I
you
don't
can apply
know.
to them.
When I build my Genbu deck, this will be 4 of it.
Oh, surely, yeah. I think
Like-
if you're playing Tamer Mill, you surely just slam it into your deck. But I think there will be times that this card feels really bad when you
Yeah,
draw it. And you're like,
probably.
"Whoa,
Yeah.
what do I do with this thing?
Cast it and you draw a
I
card.
cast it
from
for
memory.
4 and draw a card in memory. Yeah. So that's Slick Torrent Rider. That's our Dolphin daddy. And then after much to do, a long, arduous campaign, many likes on X.com, we got our final UR. So many people. Our producer Trevor from Proxies Codex involved. We're thinking this was going to be an Umbra card because of the place that it sits in the set list. There was lots of speculation. I thought that was just some copium that Trevor was smoking, but I saw it a lot from a lot of people.
With the Umbra thing?
Yeah, the Umbra thing.
Dude,
and I
my
saw
God.
it so much that I started believing it, and I was like, well, that could be pretty cool.
It would be cool, but like surely you're smoking crack on this one.
But yeah, this is not at all the card that we thought it was. It is a cool card. Maybe again, I'm a hater. But anyways, we'll give it a read. This is Huaji of Heaven's Rise. Hopefully that's right. It is a 0 memory cost, normal Regalia weapon warrior, pole arm 1, power 2 durability. Class bonus, unique warriors you control can attack using this weapon. Class bonus at the beginning of your end phase if your champion is Exia element. You may pay 3 reserve if you do. Transform Huaji of Heaven's Rise into the other one, which is Huaji of Abyssal Fall. 0 reserve cost. Exia. Regalia weapon. Warrior polearm. 3 power. Now, this is something that got people confused. I guess we'll read the text first and then we'll get there. Class bonus. Unique warrior allies can attack using this weapon. On attack, you may have Huaji of Abyssal Fall deal 10 unpreventable damage to the attacker. If you do, this attack gets +3. So this does not have a durability stat on the back. Me and my smooth brain was like, it have no durability. You attack with this forever. That's great. That's not how it works. Does keep the durability from its front side, flips to the other side. That's the reason it doesn't have a durability status, because it's on the front side. So it has 2 durability. You can use it twice. Obviously, you can, put durability counters on it like you can any other weapon.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know.
So I do have a question, right?
Yeah, hit me.
So
I'm a
like,
judge, I promise.
obviously, if Jin hit you with this stick,
Yes.
Jin take 10.
Yes.
But if I like do the Galahad thing and
Yes.
pick it up with an ally,
Yes.
they take 10,
Yes.
or I take 10.
No. Galahad take 10.
Oh, Galahad
yeah,
take
yeah.
10.
And die.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, basically this deal 10 unpreventable damage to the attacker thing is a May ability, so you don't have to do it. That is basically just for Zhao Yun, the UR from Mortal Ambition that has on-kill gain immortality. So as long as he's immortal, he can take the 10 and attack with this for 6.
Right.
Or I guess for 10
Or
total.
Jin pick it up and stab you with it and take 10.
Yeah, Jin can as well, and Jin probably will, but the rest of your allies are probably just using this like a Galahad sword and attacking for 3.
Yeah.
I don't think it's bad. I don't want to say this is a bad card, right? It's a 0 cost weapon that potentially attacks for 12. Like, that's reasonable. It does have a couple of like really heinous downsides though, which I find strange
Yeah.
for this being a UR, is that 2 durability is not a lot.
Mm-hmm.
It is like this sick weapon that you not only have to materialize, but you also have to pay for in your end step. So you can't materialize this and flip it. You have to materialize this, end of your turn, pay 3, flip it. Your next turn, you can attack with it. That's a lot to ask for, which is reasonable. However, once you flip it, it only has 2 durability. You only get to attack with it twice. It is like probably worse than your Shuangji
Right.
if you're playing Jin.
Right.
It's very strange.
I could see a world where this is good in like a wind Jin list.
Yeah.
I saw it in chat there, and I have to agree with it because then you can like flicker it and reuse it later.
Yeah, it's again. I think all of the cards that we got in the social media campaign, it's an interesting card for sure. It does have some things that you can do to manipulate it, but like usually the hope is that the URs in the set are just like overtly extremely strong, and I really don't feel this way about this card, but I'm not a Jin player, and so maybe I am underestimating the 10 damage that you get to deal to yourself, the ability to have an extra weapon in your deck. I don't know. I'm curious to see where the Jin players go with it. I do think it's sort of interesting in a non-Exia deck, which is the strange part about this card. That like you assume that Exia URs, which it is sort of, are supposed to be in these level 3 centric decks, but like me personally, looking at this from the outside as a non-warrior, non-Jin player, the strongest that this card seems to me is that you're like playing a low to the ground aggro deck, wind allies, water allies, or whatever, and then to like get over the finish line at the end of the game, you level up to 3, you flip your Hwaji of Abyssal Fall, and then you like attack them for 6. And it's a good way to get burst at the end of the game, but like it's not a thing that it feels like your deck is supposed to be built around. It does give a lot more context to that Omni Shroud card that we got a little bit earlier in spoiler season. That gives your weapon Omni Shroud and puts 2 durability counters on it.
Yeah, I would like to point out to chat, you cannot flip this in Lorraine. You have to be an Exia champion.
Yes, yeah, your champion does have to be Exia, so you either have to be Lubu flipped or Jin. And if I will give you my collection if you are a flipped Lubu and then you flip your Hwaji that you got the turn before is insane. Yeah, that's like, you know, GG, you win the game forever, sort of, you know, swag. So
yeah, so you put
she's on the card. It's so sick.
You put this under your Quicksilver Grail. So then when you're like, haha, I got him, I'm Lubu. Then you crack this and pay 3 at the end phase to flip it.
Your end phase, yeah. So I don't know. Again, I think maybe I'm the wrong target audience for this, and maybe it's sweeter than I thought. I guess that's the wrong word. It is definitely very sweet. I think it's cool. It's got a lot of cool things you can do with it.
Yeah.
I don't think that it seems particularly strong, though.
Yeah.
But that is our last UR for the set. So that does give us sort of a look at what the set looks like. A lot of Tamer support. A lot more Exia support than I had thought, which is good. I think Jin does need it. There's quite a few cards to support Jin, not only this, but also at lower rarities as well. But that is our sort of our whole set. We'll get some more trickled throughout the next couple of weeks, I assume. And I believe at Ascent Melbourne, which is next week, I believe they are doing a world premiere, at least of the Recollection decks. I think sort of similar to Worlds last year, but Recollection decks do have booster packs in them. So I think we should, assumingly, through that world premiere event, see all of the cards next week in Melbourne. But how are you feeling about the set, Steve? Holistically,
I think the set is very strong. I think it's introducing a few new archetypes to the game that I think were kind of missing beforehand.
Right.
I think that the control deck meta is going to be extremely strong with players that can play control decks. I think the aggro players...
That's not you, Chet. You suck.
I think the aggro players are probably in a really good space. Allies have been pretty bad for a while, for the most part. And I think that with Goja and most of her support that we've seen, lends me to think that ally strategies are back on the table.
It's definitely an interesting set. I think it overtly seems higher powered than we've gotten in a while. I think maybe MRC was about this power level. It was just a little bit harder for us to see. I think we'll always be looking back on MRC with sort of the wrong impression of it because of the strength of the Recollection decks, but also them being the first Recollection decks sort of, I think, like clouded the existence of a lot of the cards in MRC, even though they were overtly very powerful. Obviously, that's where like Icebound Slam comes from, right? But looking at this set from the outside, it does seem like probably the strongest set we've gotten in a while. Probably even stronger than MRC, I think. Maybe the Recollection decks are weaker than like Slime's was, but I think the set as a whole seems stronger than MRC was. And the thing that I find so interesting is that there is some archetype support here. There's definitely some cards that fit into some existing decks, and I think a lot of those feel like really cool build-arounds. I think about the, I always forget her name, but the Imbue 3 normal card, the Kumai ally that's getting a CSR, that sort of leans you into that Dawn of Ashes norm exclusive deck. I think there's a lot of cards like that are like cool build-arounds for other archetypes, but it seems like more so than A and B. The weird part about this being a supplemental set, and A and B being a main set, it feels like this set introduces entirely new archetypes better than A and B did, where A and B felt like, like Kong Ming was pretty weak. We'll see how she shakes out after HVN. And Jin was also pretty weak. Jin was his own strategy. I think they did a great job of making Jin feel like Jin, but was also pretty weak in the last meta. We haven't really seen any of the A and B quote-unquote archetypes really making waves other than Razor Gale in this last format. So I think that HVN seems to be changing that. I think the Dao Transport seems really good. I think Guoja seems insanely strong for those that want to play allies and big animals and beasts. So I think that is cool. I am very interested to see if these new champions make a splash competitively. I think to circle back on the A and B thing, I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing that the new champions in A and B weren't like giga broken and running the meta. I think games like that, where the new champions are always the strongest ones, feel pretty bland. Like I want older archetypes to be good, but hopefully it seems like HVN is a good middle ground, where I think the Dao Chen and Guoja do seem competitively viable, but also we will get some support for some older archetypes as well. Yeah, lots of self-mill support, lots of fire aggro support, as you said. Yep. I think is good, and then a little bit of a sprinkle of cool build arounds here and there. I think is awesome. So.
It's also very interesting that just like in a set that I guess isn't really focused on mage, and because we didn't see any arcane in A and B, that with the inclusion of these new arcane cards that we're seeing in the set, that Rai is kind of getting like the breath of life he kind of needed to come back into maybe being a competitive deck again.
Yeah, I sure hope so. There's a lot of at least interesting things to try with Rai, which I think is cool. I don't know if any of them will land, and if Rai will be like tier 1. I think that's a bit of a far cry. But like we have a friend who just started playing the game, and I made a whole box of decks. You guys probably saw that post on Twitter. If you guys follow me on Twitter, do that. Where I made a whole box of decks for him to try, and
Rai was the deck.
Rai was the deck that he chose. Yeah, sorry, my brain exploded there. Rai was the deck he chose, and that.
And we were clowning on him for like weeks because he was like, I'm going to play Rai, and like Rai's unplayable.
It was my fault for sure. Rai was a deck that I had built, so I just like put it in the box. I was like, oh, I already have this built. He can try out Rai if he wants to. That was my mistake.
But hey, he benefited because all these new arcane cards seem pretty good and might be able to put him back in the map.
Well, that's it, right? Like I don't think that Rai is going to be super busted. No. But like, you want your hero to be playable. You want people to show up to locals and not feel like they're doing themselves a disservice by playing their terrible champion, right? And so hopefully that means that Rai will at least be like a deck that's on the map and something that you have to consider that you might see in an event. I think is pretty cool. So I think I had another thought and it totally left my brain, and I can't remember what it is, but yeah, really excited to see these heroes make a splash, and hopefully some older decks to pop up as well. And we will see shortly. Not as shortly as next week. Melbourne is going to be our last event with the HVN or with the A&B meta post Icebound Slam ban. So we'll see how that goes. Good luck to everybody that's going to Melbourne next week. But the week after that will be HVN release, and then the week after that is Seattle. So we'll see what shakes out at Seattle.
I love fresh metas.
Yeah.
You know, a big event going in. Everyone has 1 week to prepare with all the new cards. See what shakes out.
It's going to be a really interesting deck. Who knows if it's a meme or not, but I've been seeing a lot of posting from the true Cactus Gaming folks about their broken Tier 0 deck. So we'll see if there is this meta defining broken deck, or if that's a cope. It's 50-50 either way. Yeah. So we'll see. But I think that's all we have for you guys this week. Yeah. We do, of course, have Melbourne next week, so we'll be talking about that. That's just a weird timing where I think our show will be like probably mid Melbourne because they're so far ahead of us.
So we'll talk about the first couple of rounds.
But we have Melbourne to talk about next week, and then, of course, HVN after that. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you want to catch the show, you can catch the show here live every Friday, 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, *. And if you want to catch the previous week's show, you can catch it here on the YouTube channel, Friday, 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, *. I think I might actually change the day that we upload the previous show. We saw some pretty good numbers from the Monday. So maybe we'll be changing that in the future. But for now, that is the plan. Thank you guys so much for watching. We will see you next week.
Have a good one, guys.
Woo!
Woo woo.